You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society. You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go wild.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, a secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret.
The Skull and Bones Secret Society was originally called the Brotherhood of Death. George Bush Jr., his father George H.W. Bush, and his grandfather Prescott Bush have all been initiated into this macabre fraternity, which was established in 1832 at Yale University by William Huntington Russell, whose family were America's biggest opium smugglers. George W. Bush was initiated into the Skull and Bones Brotherhood of Death in 1968. The ceremony took place at the Society's headquarters, which is a stone building with almost no windows. This mausoleum-type building is known as the Tomb. There is a small enclosed courtyard, an internal chamber.
Skull and Bones, with all its ritual and macabre relics, was founded in 1832 as a New World version of secret student societies that were common in Germany at the time. Since then, it's chosen or tapped only 15 senior students a year, who, when they graduate, become patriarchs, lifetime members of the ultimate old boys club.
This is no old boy network. This is no, I'll pat your back, you pat mine. This is not, oh, you got the same tie as me, so we're okay. This is a vicious group of interbreeding bloodlines seeking to impose their will and their structure of life upon the global population.
Throughout the early 1900s, the New York Times would often publish, sometimes on the front page, the names of the new Skull and Bones initiates. And the Yale class books would, up until the 1960s, publish the names of each class of Skull and Bones. Still, even though their identities were known, what they did inside the tomb was still supposed to be top secret.
Yale University is 300 years old this year, and were you to visit its campus, you would see that it still has exotic clubhouses, which look like tombs where Yale's legendary secret societies meet. Their prestige and importance have largely evaporated, but the rituals are still a secret. And so when we heard that some enterprising characters had managed to spy on the famous Skull and Bones Society, well, we couldn't resist. Here's ABC's Dan Harris.
The videotape provides a grainy glimpse into what appear to be the initiation rituals of a secret society that's been around since 1832, whose members have gone on to be leaders of Wall Street and the White House, the Senate and the Supreme Court.
They're sort of trying to scare the initiates, make them, disorient them, frighten them.
New York Observer investigative reporter Ron Rosenbaum accompanied a team of Yale students who shot these pictures 9 days ago. Rosenbaum's curiosity about Skull and Bones was permanently piqued when, as a classmate of George W. Bush, he lived right next to the Tomb, the group's heavily fortified home. From their perch, Rosenbaum and his cohorts taped the Tomb's courtyard. What they captured, they say, was initiates, known as neophytes, being forced to kiss a skull, then members performing a mock killing. It may look like your average fraternity nonsense, but Rosenbaum says it's not.
Even though it may seem silly to us, it seems to mean something to them, and you can't argue with the success of Skull and Bones.
True. Famous alums include senators, John Kerry and John Chafee, to name two, cabinet secretaries, such as Averell Harriman, and 3 presidents, William Taft, George Bush, and George W. Bush, who's been reluctant to talk about Skull and Bones.
Does it still exist? The thing is so secret, I'm not even sure it still exists.
Yale Rosenbaum says the tape is a valuable artifact, an extremely rare view into the secret society that groomed the American ruling class for generations. Dan Harris, ABC News, New York.
That's our report on World News Tonight. Don't forget.
Tales of strange sexual confession encounter groups, guys lying naked in coffins, wrestling in mud piles.
Rosenbaum attempts to interview the Bonesmen themselves, but most refuse. Instead, he gathers information from people close to the members, particularly girlfriends who have been given secret information, and some of whom have even been allowed inside. They describe an interior with all the trappings of a late Victorian Gothic fantasy. There is heavy, dark furniture, medieval armor, animal heads, and everywhere there are skulls and bones, including a skeleton bonesman called Madame Pompadour.
Alexandra Robbins says the cast of the initiation ritual is right out of Harry Potter meets Dracula.
There is a devil, a Don Quixote, and a pope who has one foot sheathed in a white monogram slipper resting on a stone skull. The initiates are led into the room one at a time, and once an initiate is inside, the bonesmen shriek at him. Finally, the bonesman is shoved to his knees in front of Don Quixote, sort of as the shrieking crowd falls silent. And Don Quixote lifts his sword and taps the bonesman on his left shoulder and says, "By order of our order, I dub thee Knight of Eulogia."
The Skull and Bones initiation ceremony is said to be held in April in the tomb's basement. One distinguished member serves as master of ceremonies. Once enrobed, he is known as Uncle Toby. The shortest senior is appointed Little Devil and dons a satanic costume. A bonesman with a deep voice is dressed as Don Quixote. Another is dressed as the college's founder, Elihu Yale. Still another is given papal vestments.
Say that there are niches with human skulls, and whose skulls they are. They're supposedly the skulls of famous people, and there's one skull that was labeled the skull of Geronimo.
And a museum of artifacts held sacred by the Society's members, which are all called bonesmen, regardless if they are male or female. Many of the artifacts inside the Skull and Bones headquarters have been stolen by its members. To prove their devotion to the Brotherhood of Death, Bonesmen have robbed graves, bringing human skulls and skeletons back to their tomb and placing them in glass display cabinets. Prescott Bush robbed Geronimo's grave and had Geronimo's skull placed in a display case alongside the order's other treasured possessions.
Obsession with death and its trappings, and with skullduggery, literally.
Prescott Bush, George W.'s grandfather, and a band of bonesmen robbed the grave of Geronimo, took the skull and some personal relics of the Apache chief and brought them back to the tomb. There is still a glass case, bonesmen tell me, within the tomb that displays the skull that they all refer to as Geronimo.
Other treasured possessions, which include silver tableware from Hitler's Eagle's Nest headquarters in Nazi-occupied Austria.
Reports indicate that within the tomb, bonesmen operate on Skull and Bones time, which is 5 minutes ahead of the time in the rest of the world, which is referred to as barbarian time. Every Thursday and Sunday at 6:30, they gather for dinner in the Firefly
There's a
Room.
special session that is given the name Connubial Bliss, and in that session, it's a sexual autobiography. It's hard to imagine George Bush, the former president, chattering away about his early sexual experiences. Nonetheless, one feels that he has to have gone through it. It was required of the society.
Absolute secrecy is also required. In his 1999 autobiography, George W. Bush devotes just one sentence to his membership in Skull and Bones. Quote, "My senior year, I joined Skull and Bones, a secret society so secret, I can't say anything more." The secrecy, according to some researchers, is there to protect the fact that Skull and Bones funnels its initiates into positions of power and influence. In 1977, for example, George W. Bush forms his first company, Arbusto Energy, with the help of several Bonesman investors.
Skull and Bones is a lifelong.
There are only 15 people a year, which means there are about 800 living members at any one time.
We know that a lot of Bonesmen have gone to positions of great power.
That's what Skull and Bones' purpose is, to get as many members as possible into positions of power.
Though there is this mythology about Skull and Bones pulling the strings of government. You're saying the fact is Skull and Bones are pulling the strings of government.
They do have many individuals in influential positions, and that's why this is something that we need to know about.
The reason that it is so secret is because if the people of America realized what its elite presidents of the future get up to, they'd realize that they live in anything but the land of the free.